about to be live. We're live now.
Yay!
I was like, wait, I need to switch the screen. My bad. Smooth transition. Pat myself on the back.
Yay! Yay, cat! Yay, computers!
Welcome, everybody that is here now and anybody that's listening in the future. Hello, future. Welcome to Elsewhere Podcast. Today we've got Dave Lowmiller. He is, well, he's right here.
I'm a noisemaker, a purveyor of yelling, and
Well, see, here's the thing. I didn't know exactly how to say it, whether it should be like, he's an amazing vocalist, if you consider yourself a vocalist, or do you consider yourself, is there a term that I don't know? Because that happens a lot. Where people are like, it's actually this. I'm like, sorry.
Oh, no. Like everybody in my band, and I can get into this, happy to get into this. There's a lot of different hat wearing, so yes, I do in fact consider myself a vocalist, but also I'm a music producer and songwriter, and when we do play live and in the studio for that matter, I also play bass and keyboards for the project in the studio. So lots and lots of different musical hats.
Well, put on your fedora. You're in podcast mode.
I'll put on my fedora and I will stop shaving my neck. How about that?
Oh God. So you won't need a sweater anymore.
It's like, yeah. Well, everybody, that's been the podcast. Dave's done off the air with you.
Oh, that's funny. No, I actually, she's in the chat. Kutasari is the one who introduced me to you through a Dark Halo, and that was on Truth Channel, and you popped in. I know you popped in, and I don't know. That's the first time I heard anything from you, and then I've kind of secretly stalked a little bit since then. To try,
Awesome.
Pull up your name, see that you've done interviews, that you've done a lot of stuff. That you do a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff. People would be surprised if they put your name in there, just how much will come up.
There's a well. Thank you. I appreciate that, I'm glad the music captured your attention enough that you felt it was worth the what'd you call it, the soft stock. No. I appreciate that. And yes, I think maybe I'll just give a little bit of background on the project, because there's a lot of us, if you were to enter our names, that are doing a lot of media stuff. One of the things that's interesting about a Dark Halo, at least we think it's interesting, is that most of the people in the project are actually game developers. So there's a huge component of this band that makes a whole lot more sense through those optics. I'm a full-time game developer. So is Abe. So is our entire video team. Brad, Chelsea, Melissa, Corey. They're all game developers. Our other vocalist, Melrose, is a full-time developer. And why is that important? Well, because this band started a long time ago. 2005, Jonesy and I kicked this thing off. And the idea back then was, oh, it's the information age, computers. We don't need a band anymore. We had been in bands together, right? And bands are cool. Bands are a lot of fun. I love bands, but it can be, the relationship maintenance can be hard, right?
Well, because you're basically in a relationship.
Totally. You're totally in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you're in a relationship with people that you care about. But
and you're not getting any of the happies out of it either.
No, it can be it can be quite miserable. No, but even if you love everybody, and even if everybody gets along, it's still a herding cats to get 4 or 5 working professionals to show up at the same time, on time, paid band rent, all that stuff. And so to the early 2000s roll around, and I had already been working as a game audio professional for like 6 years at this studio called Rainbow Studios. Had done a lot of Motocross Madness, MX versus ATV, Deadly Creatures was a weird title that came out of there. That was lots of fun. That was a we exclusive horror title, which is a weird enough sentence as it is, starring Dennis Hopper and Billy Bob Thornton, where you play as a tarantula and a scorpion. Is that enough? Is that weird enough?
That's, I mean, aside from it being a spooter, other than that, it's awesome.
Yes.
I can
It's
deal
a,
with
what do you?
a spooter.
Oh, oh, a spooter. No, yeah, no spooters, no nope ropes. I get it.
I
Yeah.
don't mind the dope ropes as much as the spooters, but
'Cause
I can handle those. But no, I mean, there was one that my daughter was playing the other day that she was running around. She was a cockroach.
yeah, the mind is the imagination is a fantastic thing, and somebody's like, you know what them kids want? They want to be a cockroach, and they're right. Somebody wanted to be a cockroach.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to do it too. So
See?
I was
Yeah,
like,
well,
that is. I saw Joe's apartment back in the day.
yeah. You know what? Then if you were to find an old copy of that game I'm talking about, you could be a spooter and you could eat a cockroach and fight a scorpion.
I just feel like that does not sound amazing.
It was a whole like thing.
No, but I know people that would
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
love to do that. They would totally play that game.
They would, yeah. It was a small niche thing because it was Wii exclusive, but I really enjoyed it, and I got to write a horror movie soundtrack for a game where Dennis Hopper is around and you play a spooter. It was strange.
Well, I
Um,
was going to ask you what exactly that you did when you're working with these, like with game development. When I hear the words game development, my first thought is that you're coding.
yeah, okay. I guess I should break that down some. So there's a lot of us in different disciplines. Game design, just like just like making movies or any other piece of media, there's bunches and bunches of subdisciplines. So there are engineers and game designers that code and script all day, respectively. And there are artists that make the characters. There are environment artists that make the environments. There are any number of professionals working to create these assets, and I am in specifically audio. I'm the audio director at my current company, and I have I guess you could say my pedigree specialization coming up through the industry was in sound design. So I'm working on Dead Space, and I make the sound of a zombie puking on another zombie. That's what I put into the work. I make explosions, and
So
one time I got yeah. Go ahead.
is it like the movie? Okay, I've seen these little clips like for movies, like especially
Hmm.
animated movies, where they have somebody sitting in a room with a bunch of like bric-a-brac around, and they're like, "Oh, we need a horse, clopping,"
Yeah.
and they use like a shoehorn and like a crinkle
Yeah.
paper, and somehow it sounds like footsteps in a scary hallway. Like, what? How do you even do that?
A couple of coconuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those cats are called Foley artists, and they really that's an incredible craft. Like taking something practical. A simple common one is like a piece of celery to make a bone break, right?
Yeah.
And we do a lot of stuff like that. We do record our own sound effects when we can. Like when I was on, I was the weapon audio lead on Battlefield Hardline, and I had to make like 150 weapons. So we went and recorded a bunch of guns, and then we recorded a bunch of impacts, and then we recorded a bunch of gun handling, and then you got to break all that stuff down into, we call them grains, or we talk about granular sound design, breaking stuff into tiny pieces so we can put it back together when the player is working the controller. But
Right.
yeah, that's what I do. A helicopter crashes in Call of Duty, and the sound of it—that's my problem. So, obviously, I can't record a helicopter crashing, but I can get into a library that's maybe got an explosion sound in it. I can
Right.
pull that explosion. I can combine that with I recorded some metal. Combine that with the voiceover. Combine that with here's a big scary synthesizer that just goes whoop 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 like a movie theater, and then boom, there you go. Yay, I did it. I did something.
Well, I mean, I just am really dying to know how you would put together a zombie puking on another zombie. Like, would that use celery, or would you go record somebody puking?
Oh, the puker.
Would you fake it? Like, I don't.
So the puking zombies tend to be kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different things. The first thing you're going to need for any zombie, any creature, is a really good voice performance from voice talent that can get that whole like nasty thing going on, right? So you need all them nasties,
So
and then you look at what's going on with the creature, and you can see, oh, it's got bones breaking, and there's puke spewing everywhere. So you're gonna need everything. You're gonna need
splashes,
yeah, you're gonna need the
drips.
splashes, rips, tears, a couple of big splats. Maybe
Splat. Oh,
throw
that's a good word.
oh, the splats. Yeah. Pillsbury dough thrown against concrete. That's a lovely one right there.
Oh,
You can
okay.
also oh yeah, or anything like super viscous like cake batter or jello. If you stick a shotgun microphone into that and start moving it with a spoon and get that I'm just gonna, all that stuff. I'm just being gross here.
Here for
Yeah.
it. I'm just thinking of really cool projects I can do with my kids.
Yeah. Well, Halloween is just around the corner, and 'tis the season to simulate the sound of brains and viscera. I suppose.
So you guys all have different things that you do. You specifically do audio when it comes to game development.
Mhm.
So how did it come about that, because obviously you're saying like, being in a band is like a relationship. How did you guys all like? Do y'all guys work together now?
Some of us do. So there's actually been like two phases of the project, and so I'll go back to the original phase, which is it's like 2005. I'd been doing game audio for 5 or 6 years, and I loved bands, but I was having a harder and harder time doing bands the band way, and I was a lucky cat that I got to see a lot of what was going on with the industry as far as digital audio goes. And so me and my buddy Jonesy, we figured out, hey, check this out. If we build a powerful enough computer and get all the right software, we can put a band together, just the two of us, and we can get a drummer if we want one, but we don't need one, and we can put a 50-part symphony in there, and we can put all the synthesizers we want, and all we got to do is get together on my couch twice a week, um, make music, play too much Mortal Kombat, drink a couple beers, make more music, and it was just so much more chill. And that's how a Dark Halo was born. And where the games come into it is it was just the two of us at first, but we had put together what we considered to be a pretty solid demo of 3 songs, and we're working on the first album, which would become Catalyst. And at the game studio I was working at, one of the executive producers on one of the projects that I was working on was helping out with one of the other studios owned by our publisher that was working on a WWE wrestling game. And I can't remember the story of what had happened, but they had lost rights or were unable to secure rights to all the licensed music that they wanted for the project.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and so the EP of that game comes into my room one afternoon, and he was visibly a little agitated, and was just like, "Oh hey, little birdie told me that you've got a metal band project that you've recorded an album for or something like that." And I was like, "Sir, yes, sir." I was just like a kid at the time. And he's like, "Well, I want to hear it. I want to hear it." So I showed him what did we have done? Burn It All and Beyond Recall were done at that point. It's like, this is great. This is perfect. Sent me to the company lawyer to sign some rights stuff, which I thought was just amazing. And we put 2 Dark Halo songs into this WWE wrestling title, Day of Reckoning 2. And that got us I mean, I kind of thought that was the end of that. I was like, "Oh, that was cool. We got into a wrestling game." But absolute surprise and delight, that brought us like this huge, friendly, kind, loyal fan base that has been with us like ever since, because they found us in the wrestling game, and it kind of blew the project up a little bit in ways that we didn't expect. Um, and that was awesome. We were playing a bunch of live shows. We had picked up a drummer and another guitar player that were friends of ours, and it was just so much easier now that all the material was written, all the backing tracks were done. It was just easier to do the band thing.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
then, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So that was phase one of a Dark Halo. Phase two, where there's like 8 game devs in it, that happened years later when I moved out here to Texas. So that game studio I was at in Phoenix did the thing that a lot of game studios do. It went under in 2010, and I had plenty of advance notice that it was going to shut down, which was really graceful. You don't always hear that story. People don't always know. Sometimes you just show up and the studio's closed.
Wow.
But I got months and months of advance notice. So I was able to go job hunting and find a new gig long before the studio closed. And I found a gig out in Redwood Shores, California at Visceral Games, working on Dead Space 2. And I don't know if you're familiar with the franchise, but it's this zombies in space kind of thing.
I've heard of it, but I generally don't play games anymore.
I was so happy. If as a sound designer and a fan of metal and horror movies, if somebody's like, "Yo, do you want to work on Dead Space?" and you're a sound designer, you say yes. So I went out there and I worked on 2 Dead Space games. I worked on Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline. But where I'm going with this, as far as the Dark Halo goes, is just because of the circumstances of having to leave, and because of the circumstances of I wasn't sure if my employment contract at the time would let me work on outside projects. A Dark Halo, and I had a young daughter at the time. She was super little. She's older now. It was just not music time. So Dark Halo went on this like indefinite hiatus, if I can speak. And then I ended up taking a gig 5 years later out here in Austin, starting the audio department at a large video game company. And one of the things I really like about my cool company is not only about my current company that I think is cool, is that not only do they tolerate outside projects, but they're like super into it. They totally get that as creators, it keeps us happier and it keeps us sharper as creators if we can work on not only the stuff they need us to work on, but stuff on the outside, keep our claws sharp, right?
Right. No, I get that. That's actually really cool because most companies aren't gonna allow that, especially if it's in the same space. And I'm saying creatively, it's in the same space as what you're working on with them. Generally, it's like, oh no, I have to have all of your time and all of your attention and all of your talent like needs to come to us.
Yeah, exactly. And this shop, they totally get it, and that's no small part of the reason that I came here in the first place, and that I'm still here 7 years later. I'm super into that,
Yeah.
and they're into that. But you probably see where this is going. I got out here and I got a bug to start a Dark Halo up again, so I called up Jonesy and was like, "Hey, do you want to reissue the album? Do you want to remix a couple of songs?" And we put the original album back out with one remaster and one like cool guy remix thing, just to see what would happen. And to our surprise, and again delight, our fans were still there, even though it had been at that point like like almost a 10-year gap at that point.
Wow.
And everybody loved it. And so I caught on fire and wanted to make new stuff. So I went off in a corner and started writing the riffs for what would eventually become Starfall. And here comes more game people. So I'm working at the studio, and one of one of the sound designers that works with me, uh, she's super cool, and came to me one day and was like, "Hey, I heard you're starting this metal thing back up. I thought you should know that our friend that worked there, Abe Robertson, he's an incredible guitar player." And she kind of didn't take no for an answer and set us up on a blind date, which was super cool.
Get you
And
back into
she
a
just
relationship again.
and she totally did. She went and grabbed Abe off the production floor. He's a game designer, and shoved him in my office just so that we could talk it out. And he gave me this little like, "Oh, I play a little bit of guitar" thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, ended up being total bullshit, right? The guy is a savant. He is a talent. I have never worked with a virtuoso guitar player at that level. And I remember giving him Starfall, and him about a week later sending it back to me, and I was listening to it in my car. And he'd done this solo, and I had to pull over because I was like out of oxygen on the freeway. He's just incredible, and that lit me on fire even more. And so we launched Starfall. The Spotify algorithms grabbed it. That heated us up even more. So we wrote I Revenant and shot a video for it, and the algorithms on Spotify grabbed that, lit that up even more, which lit us up even more. And now we've expanded to the point that we went and found our drummer Kay, who it took a long time to find Kay, and we were being picky, and we met a lot of awfully cool, talented people, but it took like 9 months to find her. And my wife was the one that actually found her. She jumped into Drummer Hunt 2019 and located Kay, and we were almost fixing to give up, and then we found her, got super lucky. Then there were a couple of collabs. I went and did some vocals for Conflict, and that's how I met Anna Hell. And that was so cool. I still can't believe that she asked me to sing on there. And even more lucky, we were able to reciprocate the kindness. And well, it was her being kind both times, in my opinion, but she came over to a Dark Halo to do a collab with us. And we were realizing more and more and more between Starfall and Revenant and Vector Unknown, all these songs where we were featuring women vocalists, that, guys, we really need to add this range like permanently, which is how I met Melrose. I had actually wanted to reach out to Mel for a long time. I don't know how familiar you are with Mechina.
I've heard in passing, but I'm not too familiar.
So Mechina is the project that I knew Melrose from. She still does vocals in Mechina, and they may be the biggest active cyber metal band in our current genre space. It's super awesome project. If you haven't checked it out, if you haven't listened to it, I would highly recommend go check out Mechina. It's just the production it weighs a ton, and it's a mile wide, and it's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. And obviously I'm super into it, and I had wanted to approach Mel for a while, but it took me 3 or 4 solid releases to work up the nerve to reach out to her. Oh, wow. And yeah, I was hoping that I could get her for just a collab at first, like we had done with Anna, like we had done with Kathleen Sokuski. So I friended her on Facebook and immediately was like, "Oh my God, what have I done? Like, she's not gonna like the project." And she friended me and was like, "Oh yeah, I know who you guys are," and we sort of became friends. But I was still kind of like, in hindsight, I was still kind of like timid, because I'm like, I want to wait until just the right moment to ask for a collab, so I'm not going to bother her too much. And then she and I like to joke about this. The way Mel wound up in a Dark Halo was, I had mentioned to you earlier, I'm a horrible gear nerd.
Yeah.
Mel gets on Facebook one day, and she's like, "Hey all, music production friends, I need a 7-string guitar that won't go out of tune." And that was just that was too far for me. I had just bought this ESP guitar with the Evertune bridge, and I was like, I'll pull a stranger over on the street to show it to him. I'm so into this guitar at the time. And so Mel posts that. It's too far for me. I write this novel of a post, right? Just like this novel of a comment. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? She's going to think I'm insane. But she liked everything I said about the guitar, ended up buying the same guitar, and we became friends over that guitar. And then I finally worked up the nerve to ask her to be in an ADH song, and she was super cool about it and kind of gave me this, oh, I thought you'd never ask kind of thing, which was a huge relief. So we started working on a collab, and then it just went too well, like so well. Just personality fit, the way she thinks, the way she composes, the
Right.
way she writes harmonies, and just like at the professional level, the drop she gives, and Mel as a songwriter, she's just an incredible talent. And on top of that, she very quickly became like a just deep friend to the band and everybody in the band. And we're like, this is too good. I don't want this to stop. And like I said, we'd been looking to add a second vocalist permanently anyway. So I very sheepishly, during a band call one time, was basically like, Melissa, will you marry us? Right? and
Straight
and
propose.
we I straight up proposed on a Zoom meeting, and Melissa said yes, and we've been writing, like, man, she just adds this like banger factor to everything we've been doing, and I just love making. I love duetting with her. I like writing parts that I know aren't for me; they're just for her, and I love getting her counsel and feedback. And I've in my entire career, I'd never written lyrics with somebody else until she showed up. So it's been like really cool to have that range expanded. You know, with Abe as a virtuoso that he can go off and tell these stories, and now Mel, I'm just like the happiest, luckiest guy. And
Well,
oh yeah, oh go ahead, go ahead.
now I was gonna say about Abe, the whole thing is most of the ones that are like amazing, guitar players, or any instrument for that matter, they tend to be pretty humble and they don't like push it out in everybody's face.
I've started to notice that there's like tiers of people, and the ones that are these absolute tier one operator, high speed, low drag cats, like Abe, have nothing to prove, and they know they have nothing to prove, so they just want to lift everybody up.
Yeah, and they're not out there. They don't have to sit there and brag about their talent and all this stuff, because all it takes is you strum the guitar. That's all it takes, right? I mean, I think the talent that you have involved in this project is amazing.
I'm humbled by the talent that I'm surrounded with right now. It's almost intimidating, the level of cats with which I travel right now. They're amazing.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they would say the same about you. So,
Well, I appreciate that too. I will thank you.
no, I
It's
mean,
hard.
it's true because, like I said, the first time I heard was Afterworld, on that one live stream, that one time, and actually that damn song's been stuck in my head all week. It
Oh,
went from As the Structure Fails directly into that song on repeat, just like a couple lines. And it's basically the lines, if you saw the story that I put up using that song, where your voices like meld, where you come in
yes.
at different times and then they go together. That whole sequence is where that's what's been stuck in my head on a loop, or only when I'm not paying attention to something and I'm like, oh, walking down the hall, and then it goes off in my head. I'm like, oh, come on.
Well,
Not
thank you so much. We actually, like, we're pretty proud of the hook writing that we do, and I spend more time trying to make those earworms than I do anything else. I think it's actually even though it sounds like the simplest part of most songs, I think it's the hardest thing to do, to write a hook that gets stuck like that. So I appreciate you saying that.
No, and I love that, and that's something I've talked to other people about. There's a quality of, there's a tone, and as the Structure Fails does it, when they pull back, like they'll be like full on like metal scream like going on, and then they'll pull back, and then it's always that male voice that's kind of, it's the same voice that you use in that hook. Okay, to me, it's so soothing. I love it, and
Oh,
especially when
awesome.
it's used on a pause. So it's like intense, 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 and then like even instrumentals can drop off a little bit, and it just kind of zones you directly into it. I absolutely love it. That's one of my favorite things. And whenever I hear that in music, I tend to really like those songs above other ones.
I appreciate that big time. I really, really do, because that's one of the things that we want to do with the project is combine all the stuff we love, not just about metal, but just like music like capital M music. And so some of the stuff we do is really brutish and intense and screamy and dark, because sometimes that's the only way you can tell those stories, is to act like that. And then there are other times, like like the story we were trying to tell in Afterworld, where I don't feel that we really could have told that story any other way than to write a duet that has Mel's range on top and mine on the bottom, and that little counterpoint melody that moves in and out, and put in almost Nashville chords with some of the harmonies, is the only way we were going to be able to tell that story. And I appreciate that you picked all that up and that landed with you, because that makes me want to do it more, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I mean, and I say this all the time, and I know what's going to be said back, but I'm not creative. I don't make I don't create anything. The only thing I've ever created were some Afghans, because I crochet, and my children. Aside from that, I'm not an artist. I can't design a room. I can't draw a picture I mean, I could try. It's not going to look good, but whatever. I'm just saying I'm not a creative, but what I am, and Scholes always called me this. He called me the pure listener, which is the opinion that people actually want to hear. So I pay attention to it, and lately I've been really trying to focus in on what is it that catches me, like, because that's the stuff that sticks in my head, and so I figure there's got to be something about it, right?
Well,
And so
yeah, and
when I hear it in
you
multiple bands, and I hear it not the same, they don't sound exactly the same, but it's the same. Do you remember Pandora back when it first started, where you could?
Oh yeah, sure.
You remember how it would say female vocals with an EDM beat that increases in intensity throughout? Like it would describe to you, and if you really thought about it, it's like, wow, I really do listen to a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think, well, you gave me two thoughts. I'll give you the first one first, which is I would submit to you, I would counter to you that you are a creator. You are using the talent that you enumerated yourself, that you are a listener, to create conversation, discussion. You're using it to create thought. You're using it to connect with other creators that will then go on and create. And then if there's any other proof that the talent that you're using is a creative talent, I mean, I can go onto your YouTube page and see all this content that you have literally created. So the discussions, discourse, exchange of ideas, so, sometimes it's deeply intellectual, sometimes it's just dad jokes, but either way, I mean, you are creating thoughtfulness, except for me, that otherwise wouldn't exist in the universe. And so you are a creative.
Well, I appreciate
And
that. I
then
never thought of it that way, really.
I, that's well, there's Dave's hot take of the afternoon, but I mean it. You are making awesome experiential time-space continuum for the rest of us. So
Well,
that's cool.
1.21 gigawatts. Okay.
1.21. Yeah. Yeah. Ronald Reagan, the actor. I I saw an amazing meme the other day in one of the in one of the nerdiest music production whatever Facebook groups that I'm in, and it was just somebody had taken some text and put, "There is no way that Marty McFly could have gotten that late '70s rock and roll lead tone out of a Gibson semi-hollow body and a Fender Jazzmaster. Stupid ass movie, makes no sense." I just couldn't stop laughing. I was like, oh, that was the problem with that movie. That was that was the problem with Back to the Future, was the guitar tone. Yeah, that's the crowd I run. Okay, I'll stop. Yeah. Second thought though was that when you're talking about female lead with a deep EDM, slightly Euro house beat, all that kind of stuff that Pandora used to feed us. I think that music is too big for just one genre. I love metal. Metal will always be my heart, but I'm perfectly open about the fact that I'm equally as influenced by orchestral score and piano singer-songwriter and world music and medieval music, and there's not really a whole lot of parent genres that I can't find something beautiful in. I think everybody could. You just got to know where to look.
Right. That's why I liked it that they were grouping it in that way, because you could pull something from country or from metal or from rock, even from rap, R&B, and it could all meet those. It would tick those boxes. So when Pandora would randomly give you songs to listen to, it could be from any genre, as long as it kind of met the criteria or your preference, which ones you skip, which ones you don't, which is what they still do. They just don't tell you the reason that it suggests things for you.
Yeah, it's got you figured out. Man, the Spotify algorithms now they're deep enough to read your DNA. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, it reads my thoughts when I'm thinking about, I might mess around and like go to the liquor store like in a week or two in my head, and I'll start seeing like liquor ads. I'm like, come on now. Stop.
I hate that. I hate that. One time I was talking about this weird instrument that I never talk about. I was talking about the pedal steel guitar like you hear in country music.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking about it. And we were hanging out at y'all have Central Market out that way.
I don't really go anywhere, so I'm not sure.
We're sitting at Central Market, and they've got a nice little restaurant patio. I'm just talking about this dumb instrument. My wife gets up to go back inside the store. I'm like, oh, let me see what Facebook has to say for itself. And the very first thing I see is this advertisement for a virtual pedal steel guitar, which
see,
I've never Googled or searched for or anything. I didn't appreciate it.
I know, and it's like, man, excuse me, like I had talked to, and I wasn't even near my phone. I had talked to, who was it? I can't even remember. I talked at work about getting a pool for the kids for the backyard, like one of those stupid ones that you have to hold up all sides. I don't know how anybody like is an octopus and does that, and while you fill it up. And I was thinking about getting one that you didn't have to do that with, and I was just having a conversation. My phone was in my car. I was inside, right? I go home, and I'm reading a book or something on Kindle, and a notification popped up like, hey, Walmart has pools on sale. I'm like, what the hell? Why? How?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? And I'm like, I wasn't in front of my phone, because, they always can hear. If anybody that thinks they can't hear every time. Oh, only when I activate it. Keep thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was out in the car, and the conversation was had inside the office. Like, so how? I don't know.
You're like,
it's
don't
creepy.
don't do me like that, Skynet. Right? I mean, we thought it was going to be all Terminators and laser guns, but nah, it's just Facebook trying to sell you a swimming pool. That's how it's all going down. Boring dystopia.
You could use all this technology for good, and instead using it for ads.
Using it for ads, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what they do though, is they take all of this, the algorithms that nobody really understands. And you can ask anybody, and people, oh, I know how it works. No, no, you don't. They have Netflix productions where the people that run these algorithms don't even know how it works.
It, it's they've become self-aware. They truly have. I mean, we love the algorithms. They've been beneficial to my band. They've put us in front of new listeners that we wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise.
Right.
I just wish I understood how they worked a little bit better.
Well, I wish that I understood why the algorithm won't give me 15 more people. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, right?
like-
Let's do it.
Like Casey said, I'm 15 away from 500. Like, come on. Come on. But
Oh, and I saw earlier. I didn't get to respond to it. I saw Kutasari gave me a hi Dave, hi Dave, hi Dave. So hi Kutasari, hi Kutasari, hi Kutasari. It's not as fast, but
she's not. She wasn't even trying. Get it?
yeah. Dave, that's a tell. Yeah. Anyway, no, I've been trying to understand how all of those algorithms work, and Spotify will kind of tell you, but not
Right.
really. They'll tell you, hey, it crawls the web. Hey, it looks at other listeners and people in places that are listening to your content. So,
But you know
we
why,
know all
right?
that.
Do you know why? This is my opinion. Do you know why Spotify is like that, but yet, for example, YouTube is not?
Hit me.
Okay, because Spotify, the listeners, for the most part, pay for their services, right? On YouTube, most people, I know there are people that have premium. You guys are unicorns in this universe. I don't. Most
Yeah, I
people don't
ain't
pay
got
for
it.
that. So they get all of their revenue on ads, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way their algorithms are set up are profit generation based, and Spotify is already generating their profit because people are paying for it because they want to hear the songs they want to hear and all this stuff. You think they pay for YouTube too,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. Spotify is a different beast. I just feel like their focus, since they're already getting the memberships, you know.
I like it. I like. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. This afternoon.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today, we're bringing on the CEO. No, I'm kidding. No, we're not doing
Yeah. you get the CEO of Spotify in here. Like, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna send a tray of brownies, and I'm not proud. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna beg. I will beg. That's what I will do.
Like, put a spotlight on him. What is your algorithm doing? Explain.
How can I get another million listens? Thanks, bye.
Like, we don't really need the Secrets of the Universe, just like this one.
Just the one, that would be most dope.
But unfortunately,
believe.
it is the Secrets of the Universe nowadays. That is whatever it makes and breaks everything. Social media has an algorithm. Instagram has the algorithm. Facebook has an algorithm. Everything does, including what shows up on my Netflix feed or whatever. Of course, they do. Netflix is kind of obnoxious. They keep trying to get me to watch stuff that I don't watch. Like, for example, they'll be like, it's Indigenous People Month. Come watch this, and I'm like, okay, I'll check something out. Or it'll be like, this is Horror Month, which I don't watch horror movies. I read horror books though, because I have a really good friend that is, well, I'll say good friend, who's an author. Carver Pike, get your ass on the podcast. Anyway,
Yeah, get on here.
he was sick, so we delayed for like 2 months.
Oh, gotcha.
But no, like, they keep recommending stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to see this. So then it recommends like a tween show. I'm like, no, like, stop. It doesn't listen to me, right? But then Facebook reads my brain.
Yeah, it's not cool. Netflix and Amazon, though, I gotta admit, they kind of got me figured out. They're like, okay, well, all you watch is screwball comedy and Jeremy Wade. I watch Jeremy Wade going to pull a very bad fish out of the river too many times. It's figured out, so it thinks I want comedy shows about fishing, and I did this to myself. I did it to myself.
There was this old show, I can't remember what it was, back when everybody used to actually watch TV on a TV, like instead of streaming. And it was, they looked like the Duck Dynasty guys, but this was before that. It was like the Red Green Show or something. These two old guys with big beards. It was comedy. It was hilarious. It was like late night. And they had this like slapstick comedy kind of thing going on. They'd argue with each other. They'd go fishing. It was the weirdest thing. It just made me think of that for some reason when you said comedy based on fishing.
Yeah, I did this to myself. But yeah, I watched too much Tim Robinson. Like, I don't know if you've seen that show. I Think You Should Leave.
No, I haven't.
Or that show, or Detroiters, which is just amazing. Also a Tim Robinson thing. It's only screwball comedy and metal in this house at any given time.
It's like I wanted to hear jazz. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen here. It's like, it's just like screaming goats and videos with too much blood in them, and like, so it's metal, right? So something else has to be on fire, and somebody's screaming about a government or a religion or something, you know, like that goes on our TV. And then let's watch comedy. Let's laugh it off. We're gonna watch The Thing. We're gonna watch the latest Whitechapel video, and then we're gonna watch some comedy. Yeah, just gonna walk it off.
Alethea, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Yes, it was like a wooden shack. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it was called like the Red Green Show. I cannot believe that somebody actually knows what I'm talking about, because it sounds like I'm just making shit up, but I'm not. That's funny. That is so funny.
Yeah. I'm just seeing in the chat. There's some good stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, Kitty says Netflix is like, you've been watching Vampire Diaries, the originals, and Pretty Little Liars for 20 hours straight. You okay? You need. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they do. Yeah, they're like, are you still... I think it's more... Mine comes across more judgmental. Are you still watching? Like, are you still watching? Like, really? I'm just waiting for it to be like, really? And give me like a weird face. Like an emoji.
Yeah, pretty much. They're like, yo, man, how many times can one person watch River Monsters and Better Call Saul? I don't know. I'm going to find out. Yeah.
They should be like, you've been cut off.
Yeah.
Well, you think it's going to come someday. They're going to start doing that where they get to tell you. You know.
I would love a Netflix cutoff. Like, if as an adult I could get screen time, and that goes for the music production too, that would be amazing.
Well, set your sleep timer.
It doesn't work. I just like.
Well, you can't like cancel it. You have to let it ride. Like, you have to convince yourself you're not going to hit cancel or pause or something.
Yeah.
You actually have to let it turn the TV off.
No, I meant more like when I'm sitting in the studio here, like working on a song in Cubase, like, I wish I could like sleep time or something, but instead I'm like, well, I could call it a night and come back refreshed, but instead I think I'm gonna hit this Diet Red Bull and get a guitar down. You know, it's like, not. Surely there must be a better way.
I'm kidding. He said they removed Vampire Diaries off Netflix, so now I'm like, should I cancel?
Oh, yeah. See, Kitty, they did you dirty like that.
I watched the originals. And Stargate SG-1, my absolute favorite show of all time. Yeah, multiple times, and Supernatural, all the way through. Those are my go-to.
and you can still see them, but yeah, it's the worst when Amazon or Netflix does you dirty and something that you needed, like the first 3 seasons of Survivor Man. Like, you know, I'm not saying I needed that, but if somebody needed to watch all like that much Survivor Man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and now it's gone. Yeah,
Or
not
they,
cool.
or I try to go back and watch some of the original, So You Think You Can Dance, so my mom could actually learn the judges as they were in the beginning compared to like the shows kind of went sideways now. Um, or, like any season other than the current season for some of these shows. And you're like, come on, I want to see where it started. Like, I just saw an episode. I didn't know about this. I want to go back and watch it all. And they're like, no, no, you have to watch this one episode from this current season and that's it. And I'm like, damn it, 1990s. I thought we were past you.
Yeah. Well,
Where you watch what's
um,
on the screen and that's that. You know, I was gonna,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is it called? And I'm jumping right back. Subject change. Ready? Going around the
I'm
corner.
ready. I'm
Going
ready.
back to your vocals, right?
Yes.
What is it called? Because I always think I'm going to get it wrong, and then metal people are they're kind of mean.
Oh.
If you get the terminology, they're like, that's not screamo. What are you talking about? I'm like, stop. Or what is it called? What you do versus let's say the, because there's two, right? There's the growl, there's low, and then there's a high register, higher, like that stuff.
There are, yeah, there's all kinds of different nomenclature out there, and some people are more particular about it than I am. I'm not particular about it as long as I can communicate to whoever I'm collaborating with what I'm talking about.
Well, you could
So
just
if I,
do it, and I can't. So you could just do it, be like, oh, I mean, wah, and everybody go, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's yeah. If you're up here, that's screaming, right? But if you're that's the growling. But I tend to I tend to call it just yelling. if I'm keeping it real. I mean, if you want to get more technical, then you could talk about the actual techniques that people employ. Like, if you want to go down a rabbit hole sometime, search metal fry screaming, and that'll walk you through all of the techniques and all of the taxonomy of what constitutes a scream, what constitutes a yell, what constitutes a growl. Yeah, or is it death metal or is it deathcore? I don't get precious about it. In fact, usually I just label my tracks heavy and clean. That's it. So the clean stuff is la 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 la, right? And the heavy stuff is screaming, growling, yelling. Sometimes it's hissing. If we're being real honest. Yeah, when you're talking kind of like this. We got, just kind of airy, whispery, kind of being gross and monstrous, right? That'll go into my heavy tracks.
Well, I mean, I get that, and I prefer I prefer the way that you kind of group those, because people are like, this is okay. So I get what power core is. I get what, that's pretty much it. Like I get what is. I can't think of what it's called, like Epica and Nightwish. They're like this.
Oh, like power metal.
Yeah.
Like symphonic.
Symphonic. Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Or operatic vocals.
Right.
Comes
like,
to
so
mind,
I know those because those are kind of obvious, but like then the
Uh-huh.
difference between, this is death metal, metalcore. Yeah, those are like the only ones I know. And people are like, why does everyone try to pretend like they know how to label it? I'm like, because I'm not trying to pretend. I really just don't know. I just call it like. And when does it go from being rock to being metal? Like, what changes it from rock to metal?
I've thought about that. Okay, so I guess to put a pin in the nomenclature, like, yeah, there's generally speaking, people know what you're talking about, screams versus growls. But I mean, even when I was working with Anna, she tends to call them, instead of heavy and clean, she called them extreme and clean. And I think that I've seen other Europeans refer to them that way. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. That's why I just use yelling. That's why I use yelling, because I can say yelling to anyone that listens to metal and they get it. It's like, oh yeah. But what makes rock rock and what makes metal metal? I've been trying to think about it. It's almost one of those Supreme Court things of like, you know it when you hear it, or I know it when I see it. And I think it's because metal at its core is trying to do something different than rock and roll. Like rock and roll, that's a big tent. But generally speaking, rock and roll wants to bring the vibe upwards. And even if rock and roll is saying something important, even if it's like it's making some political statement, whatever, it's throwing the middle finger to the man. That's what rock and roll is, right? It's still up and it's sort of accessible to almost everybody. Metal, the attitude, it's almost more the attitude, because you can there are some places where rock and roll and metal almost cross over, but the difference to me is metal's job is to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. To somebody that's not ready for it, and I didn't make that phrase up, so I can't take credit for it, but it's my favorite way to describe metal. That's the biggest difference, is if somebody that is in a comfortable space that doesn't want or need to or know about that vibe that metal can put off, it's going to upset them, right? Metal is kind of famous for that. And conversely, I think all of us that are in the metal community know to the afflicted people, to the people that need it, the people that are dealing with something, metal's job is to metabolize trauma in a way that gets rid of it for the person listening and creating it. Rock and roll, not really so much. Rock and roll will use light metaphor. Rock and roll will use solutions to problems lyrically. And I'm hyper generalizing here.
Of course.
Yeah, there's no other genre except, well, no, there are places I hear it going on in hip hop too. And that's some of the stuff that I enjoy the most. But metal will throw this black mirror in front of you, or whatever the problem is, and just make you stare at it. And that doesn't work for everybody, but anyone that's in metal or understands it, like, that's how we metabolize the trauma, is looking it right in the eyeball. That's what metal is. And to me, that's the biggest difference between metal and rock. I don't know if anyone else would agree, but...
Well, Alicia says that rock and roll is pop metal.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, no.
There you have it. Yeah. I like that.
I get it. I get what you're saying completely. Like, because the phrase that you said, like, when people are comfortable, it's meant to, like, make you go, whoa, and surprise and kind of throw you off a bit. And on the flip side of that, if you're uncomfortable, it's an outlet.
Yeah, if you're uncomfortable, it immediately connects you to whatever the narrative is in the song. It's like, oh my God, somebody else has dealt with exact XYZ, or this is the problem I'm having, and I've never heard anybody say it like that. And instead of dancing around it or pretending it doesn't exist, or metal doesn't do the, oh, it's fine, we'll move beyond this, right? If metal is going to give you a message, and we have songs that are messages of you're going to move on, but it always starts with, like, but look, this is the thing. Look right at it. Look at the monster right in the eye. And then we can metabolize it. And you know what? That works for an awful lot of us, and that's how we find each other as chosen family in this metal community. Right. It doesn't work for everybody. There are some people, and I'm aware of this, and I respect this too, that's totally fine. There are some people that cannot metabolize trauma that way and would never, ever want to try. It would make it worse for them. And so right. they shouldn't open that box. But for us, that's how we get rid of it. That's how we make the monster go away, is we say its name and yell at it until it can't handle it anymore.
No, that's awesome, because, I mean, how do I put this? I'm not saying that anybody that creates music has issues. That's not what I'm saying, but it's not what I'm saying.
No, I think those of us that are lucky enough to get to create are, I sort of see it as an obligation, whether it's a learned skill or one that cultivated it, it doesn't matter. But at a certain point, if you figure out that you're somebody that can take trauma, if you're somebody that can take hurt, and you can take that from other people and turn it into something relatable as art that makes somebody's day even 1% better.
Yeah.
I view it as like an obligation. Like I'm supposed to do it. We're supposed to do that, and it would be wrong if we didn't.
No, I get
And yeah. Oh, Alethea brought up a very good point too. I saw in the chat that metal can address taboo and uncomfortable topics. Yeah, that's another thing about, as much as people like to say rock and roll, right? There's stuff that's off limits to a lot of genres and subgenres, right? But like metal is famously, and hip hop too, right? Metal and hip hop are famously in trouble all the time for saying stuff you ain't supposed to be saying, and I love it.
Oh, what was the song? I remember XMC reacted to it. It was, I don't know, it was really bad. It was like the whole entire chorus, if it was a chorus. It was ear blistering, and it was something like, I'm gonna fuck up your face, or fuck you in the face, or something. That was the whole, it was, I can't remember. If I asked him, he always goes, oh God, why do you have to remind me? Because one of the people would donate for it all the time, and he'd have to listen to these. I'm not talking metal. I'm talking like trucks crashing together and someone screaming at the top of their lungs for 3 minutes straight. Like,
yeah, just
you have to turn it down, and it's still like you have to put your headphones down over there and walk away. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I love getting as intense as we can in certain spots, and then mixing in the pretty stuff, because I don't know. I like I said, I like all different subgenres of metal. I like really beautiful, wandering, haunting stuff like Typo Negative. I like crazier, brutish, the moderns, like Slaughter to Prevail just gets relentless and doesn't stop, or Cattle Decapitation or Dying Fetus or bands like that. But the stuff I love the most is stuff that can move between those worlds.
Right.
Stuff that can, because it's easier to show you a shadow if I'm holding a flashlight too. Right? If that makes any sense.
Of course.
Yeah. So that that light and shadow interplay, to me, that's how I metabolize it, right? Some stuff wallows in hope and espouses it, and some stuff wallows in the darkness and never gets out of it. And our thing has always been, here is a horror, here is a darkness, here is a danger, and if you listen very carefully, here's the blueprint on how to fight it.
Right.
But that's us, and that works for us. Doesn't work for other people. Maybe, I don't know. Works for some cats, and I am grateful if anybody in this chat, by the way, is somebody that has enjoyed the hollering and the music that we've put out there, and those, like, here's how to fight the monster stuff. Like, I appreciate you so much for taking your time to listen to us. I just wanted to throw that at all of your listeners and people hanging out in the chat. Like, it means the world to me. Music especially, because music is a funny thing that it's a piece of art that only exists in the time domain. Like, if you froze time, statue's still there, painting's still there, but music only happens if someone's taking the time. It's and that's not lost on me, so I appreciate y'all.
No, that was really a really deep sentiment, to be honest. I mean, I always say that music is a snapshot. It's kind of like if you pause a movie at any point in time. So, like, the music that you're making in 2005 versus the music you're making right now. And that's why I always encourage people not to judge anyone based on the music they were making 10 years ago, because if the movie doesn't progress, then you're never going to get to the end, right? You're never going to live the story. You're not going to have that. So you stop it and you take a snapshot of that moment in time. That's what your music sounded like. That's what you were into. That's what you were talking about. That's, the level you were at. And then you appreciate it and move on, right?
I think that's perfect. And actually, you made me think of a quote. I wish I could remember the attribution, because it was a great quote that I read not all that long ago. But art is how we decorate space, and music is how we decorate time, which is kind of what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Super dig it.
Yeah. I just think that because a lot of people are real obsessive about what genre that they want to listen to. Not everybody. Some people are flexible and they just want to listen to good music. Like if that was a genre, that's a genre I'm here for, which is good. Like, and I'm not talking about good. Like it doesn't have to be the best produced, the most amazing vocals. It has to just hit me that way. It just has to hit different. It has to have meaning behind it. Like there has to be talent. I'm sorry, anybody that's like, well, I could sing in the shower. That's nice, but don't go dropping songs, please.
It's funny you put it that way. Like you actually almost looped me right back to like what makes metal, but it's hard to describe. But that feeling that you're talking about, I think that makes something truly metal is I can remember for my entire life that I've loved metal, the stuff that's really grabbed me is for a second there, especially the first time you hear it, it almost feels like you're listening to something you're not supposed to be listening to. It's like somebody summoned a secret. Somebody summoned a forbidden chord or lyric or sound. And the stuff that I've always enjoyed the most is that stuff. It was just like, whoa. No, we do not play that A minor chord. It is forbidden, right? I just love that, and I think that once you ring that bell, you just can't unring it. And most of the people I know that are into metal as fans or creators or musicians or whatever, it's difficult. I can think of other genres that are taboo. I can think of other genres that touch heaviness, but I can't think of anything outside of metal really that touches that feeling of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be hearing this.
Right.
It's like unique to the genre.
Well, I mean, cool. Porn kind of goes that same way too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
The Supreme Court, man, they know it when they see it.
But honestly, I mean, how was I going to say it? The reason that people resonate with reactors is because they're trying to recapture, and I don't care what anybody says, this is how I feel about it. People are trying to recapture that moment when you heard a song, you're like, oh, or you just enjoyed it, or it was great, or this sounded really good, or oh, that line was great. Whatever it is, you can never get it back. It's like, can't hit that high again. But you can watch somebody else do that, right?
I never thought of it that way before, but I think you're like dead nuts on. People want to
live vicariously through others.
Yeah, have that. Yeah, get that first chill again.
Yes, because they want to see. That's why they want to watch them. They want to watch them watching that song that they love, and they want to see them. Their eyes light up. They go, oh wow, oh yeah, oh this is so good, or this is great. Oh, that was beautiful. Whatever they say.
I am 100% in agreement with you. That totally. I'm just sort of replaying in my head, like, yeah, I went and watched the reactor to watch the song that I love so much, and it was like, oh, see, there was the moment he saw it too. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what that is. Huh? Interesting.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
Which is also why people get hateful in comments towards reactors, because they might have missed that moment that they were hoping would be that moment for them. See? Yeah. So they hear a line that's their favorite line and they skip over it. They don't acknowledge, especially, and of course I'm kind of leaning back into a lot of the rap and hip hop and stuff. So there's a bar that they miss, right? Or it doesn't hit them, or they say they didn't catch it. They're in those comments like, you didn't catch it, because it's something that resonated with them. right? So they're mad that the person that's listening to it for the first time themselves didn't have the same experience. See, that's further proof that that's what they're looking for, is someone else to have the same experience that they did so they can relive it.
I didn't even think of that way. Think of it that way, but yeah, it could easily. It's so high stakes.
Anyway, that's my opinion on it. I just think, we all have the music that resonates with us. And generally, it's not because you're stuck listening to it every day because you work at McDonald's and the stupid McDonald's radio's on. Generally, it's something that, makes you go, oh, that's awesome. You get that moment where you just pause.
Yeah, totally. One hundo.
When
I one hundo. I like it. Oh, whoa! I almost messed up our Slack chat there.
Oops.
Oops. Okay. I'm just gonna stop touching the computer because I'm gonna break something, and that would be bad.
Well,
There.
I was just curious because I hear a lot of the songs like that you guys do, and not all of them, but specifically, let's just say Afterworld, the way that one isn't as in your face, right? But then I go and listen to something like The Last Bear Ender featuring Dave Lowmiller, and I'm like, you know, it's just it's all hits different, and some people are like, oh, you either love metal or you hate it, and I don't agree with that. I don't think it's true, because I like what I like to call not soft metal, but like pleasanter metal. Like
it's a big tent.
Yeah.
It's a big tent, and there's a lot of different clowns running around in there, in the big tent.
I just think that you're so versatile, being with what you're doing, and I see your name everywhere. Like I was saying in the beginning, you're all over the place. I mean, you're helping. I guarantee you. I know. I don't know this for sure. I guarantee you're helping other people do things that they're doing.
I've got some secret stuff, you mean?
Right. I mean, like behind the scenes, like not even being featured on something, but helping people, even with things like, I'll throw it out there, like production or, hooking them up with somebody, like helping them out, like helping in the background. I guarantee that you do that all the time.
That's, you know what, I appreciate you, and I actually feel like really kind of seen right now, because that's one of my favorite things to do, is help the community get stronger, where I can, and if somebody wants to become a producer or a vocalist, or there's anything I can do to help them, I try to make time for that person. I've had a lot of grace in my career of people taking time to make me better, people mentoring me that didn't have to do it, people giving me a break that didn't have to do it, and I feel almost called to pay that forward as much and as frequently as I can. So I appreciate that you see that somehow with your crystal ball. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, you just seem like the type.
I appreciate that, and I like, I don't know, I'm very much one of those believers in the rising tide lifting all boats, and the collabs like sort of prove that. Like, hey, if I make your band better and you're associated with us, then an opportunity comes along for us, and if you make my band better, then hey, something cool comes along for us, we're going to pass it on to you guys. And more importantly than that, like, I guess, like, if I were to leave today having said nothing else, one of the most important things that's happened to me and for me, the COVID pandemic lockdown silver lining, is that because of bringing a Dark Halo back, and because of bringing it back largely during the pandemic when we had to lean on our technology, I've found myself surrounded by this level of talent and this level of dedication and these new friends. Uh, some of them are in this chat. Orion, Kudasari, I see you. I've got these new like real IRL friends that I didn't have even 18 months ago. That are like, I have this huge, massive chosen family.
Right.
Which, like, what? Yeah, I know you've got the same thing with Elsewhere, right? Like, what a strange and serious and awesome, like, little everyday miracle that is. As much as social media sucks, and social media sucks, but man, it's given me like actual IRL love, and I want to help those people because they've helped me.
I feel that. I really do.
Oh, there's Dave's 2 cents of the day.
What's up, Mega Lockdown? No, you just seem the type of person. I mean, generally, I'm pretty good at guessing when it comes to like people's level of. It just feels a certain way when you talk to somebody who is helpful, and does it humbly without looking for praise or accolades. They have there's a vibe about them, and you have it. So
you have that too, and I think maybe that's why I was talking to you before everybody got in here. I was talking to Kat about the realness of her podcast and how she keeps it like just completely and totally authentic, and just that same vibe. I can tell when you're talking to people, you want to give people a platform to be the best they can, and also spur conversations that make people think a thought that they haven't before. So in other words, right back at you again, 100. And like, I appreciate you having me on to talk about all of this. Thank you.
no,
You're
absolutely.
super kind.
It's been a minute. I've been wanting to get you on for a while. I'm just going through all the different kinds of stuff. You know, life gets in the way sometimes. And when you try to tune back, like tune back into the radio station of what you were trying to get done, sometimes, you don't realize that you skipped, like, for example, reaching out to you. We talked way back when, but then it just kind of stopped. And then I had all these other people that, guests and people that were coming on, and, things of that nature, changes I was making, graphics changes, just kind of format changes, things like that.
Sure.
And it was just one of those balls that was just sitting over there collecting dust a little bit, but it's still there. We picked it up. Oh, he hasn't seen the real cat yet?
What is that about?
What does that mean? What is the real me? Please let me know. In the comments, preferably.
It's just open shots fired.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? But no, I mean, I appreciate you being on here, and I knew that there was a lot of stuff that you do that's more than just I sing on songs, right? So just the amount of balls you have up in the air, moving pieces, moving parts, and a lot of the things you've seen in. Oh, stop, Kitty! Jesus Christ!
It's firing shots.
Apparently. But no, I mean, you do so much more. And see, a lot of these artists that I do bring on are the authors, content creators of any sort. Not only are they people, and people forget that. They just hear the music, they like it, they hate it, they talk their shit about it, and they forget that people are people. They're humans. They have feelings, they have emotions, they have, oh my God, be still my heart, they have lives, right? They have lives, they have families, they have children, they have spouses, they have friends, but people forget that, and to allow somebody to shine even a little bit, and maybe this time, I've had a lot of people who've never been on a podcast. Maybe this time they've never been on one, it went this way, that way, whatever. The next time when they get a little bit of traction going, right, and they end up on getting interviewed, or they end up on a podcast, maybe they'll have already had this one under their belt. And they're like, you know what, I kind of like to talk about that. That's something I'm going to go back to next time I talk to somebody, right?
Yeah,
Even
totally.
if it gives them just a learning experience or practice, right? It's any positive help that I can give, because when I bring somebody on, it is about you guys. It's about you. It's about whoever I have on at the time. It's not about me. I try to relate to what people are saying, and I try to, you know, I don't know, associate some of it, like the really deep, heavy mental health stuff. Some of it, like, I don't specifically, like the one you were talking about,
Uh-huh.
I don't have that diagnosis. However, the same thoughts and thought processes apply personally to me in this context. So I flip the context because not everybody in the chat, right, is going to have the same exact diagnosis, just like I don't, as the people talking, but they still feel some type of way, right?
There's enough relatability there, right? There's something to
Right.
latch on to, even if it's whatever it is, music, mental health, relationships,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Right.
There's enough relatable content to remind us all that we're people, like you just said.
Exactly. And it's like giving the opportunity to, and also the other thing I really try to do is, and like, so talking to someone like you, it's not hard. You're really easy to talk to. The way that you speak is easy to understand, right? Some people, they talk about things that people hear and like, oh, well, this doesn't relate to me, right? But by rewording it and twisting it into a context that maybe does relate, so people go, oh, okay, it's okay for me to relate to it without, again, the example of mental health and the diagnosis.
Mhm.
Even if I don't have the diagnosis, I still feel some type of way, so I can chime in on this too, because I feel that way, and I don't have to have the label of the diagnosis in order to talk
Totally.
about it, right?
And even
That's
if
what I'm
someone,
here for, is to kind of
yeah,
twist it and kind of make sure that everybody is included.
exactly. And you know what? Even if somebody can't relate to it at all, 100%, or even 1%, if somebody's listening to this and this is a completely alien, foreign concept to them, it's still maybe even most valuable to that person to have the experience of learning, whoa, I didn't know that there were people out in the world that are living this different reality than I'm living, and that's an important piece of awareness. Even if they can't relate to it at all, they can connect to the idea that people are different. So that, good on you for that.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. I was super stoked to have you here, and it's been a great conversation, honestly.
This has been delightful, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the platform to talk to you and hear new ideas, new opinions. And you brought some stuff up that has definitely given me thought, and just letting me yammer on about video games and music and all my friends. I appreciate it. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely. I'm here for it. Seriously. But yeah, everybody, thank you for being here. Anybody that's here now, anybody that was here earlier, anyone that's listening in the future, hi, future people again. Um, appreciate you guys. You could have been doing anything. Everyone says it this way. You could have been doing anything, but you're here. So yay. Um, check the description if you haven't, seen his channel or some of. Actually, I don't think I put it in there. I need to get with you about some links because I was like, "Where's your YouTube channel?" I
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
find it.
it's
But
Heavy Armor Records.
oh, that's, see, I knew it. I knew it, but I didn't know it. So I'll put that in a comment and pin it. But we're gonna get out of here, you guys. Have a wonderful, what is it, Saturday? I think.
Hmm.
Have a great Saturday. And again, I appreciate it so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate all of you too. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a good one. We're out.